Welcome to Legacy Conversations, a channel where we preserve military memories and history.
Hallo internet, ek is opgewonde, ek moet vir julle sê, ek kan Afrikaans praat en ek moet amper begin met 'n verskoning want weet julle ons het net begin met my gaspraat toe ek opspring en hardloop nog vir 'n tiger, dis die kat. 'n Paar pille te gaan gee daar want hy is besig om iets te sê, so kos. Mense, daar's iets regtig interessant aan die gang in Suid-Afrika in die vorm van 'n tydskrif. Nou ek het 'n kopie hier. Kom ek wys julle. Dis hoe hy lyk. En jy kan sien dis 'n glanstydskrif hierdie is nie hierdie ding van die straat af nie. Hierdie is iets wat jy eintlik in jou biblioteek moet hê en moet hou. En ek het die publiseerder hierso. Daar's ook die skrywer van hom. En ek verstaan hy kom uit meer as een keer 'n jaar, maar ons gaan nou hoor. So Edward Barber, of Ed soos ons hom noem. Baie welkom, baie dankie dat jy my gekontak het. Ek is baie bly oor hierdie tydskrif. Ek dink werklik waar dit is 'n goeie poging mense. Onthou, soos ek altyd vir julle ouens sê, as ons nie ons storie op rekord sit nie manne, of julle met my praat, of dit kom uit in die tydskrif, of dit kom uit in 'n ander YouTube kanaal, of waar ook al, of in 'n boek, manne, as jy nie jou storie kon vertel nie, gaan jy altyd net die een kant van die verhaal hoor, en dit gaan van die vyand afkom, en hulle gaan almal vertel, jy's 'n kindermolesteerder en allerhande goed, en met nonsens aankom, so dit is belangrik dat ons hierdie goed uitbring, dis baie belangrik. So baie dankie dat jy hier is vandag. Kan ek u vra, kan jy ons net so kort agtergrond gee? Ek weet jy was 'n militêre man self en waar kom hierdie tydskrif vandaan?
Okay, Koos, baie dankie. Dis eintlik vir my 'n voorreg om te verskyn. Ek kan miskien net noem nommer 1, baie dankie vir wat jy doen om te verseker dat ons geskiedenis aangaan. Dis absoluut belangrik. Ek wil op my, jy weet van my kant af wil ek ook verseker dat ons militêre geskiedenis wat roemryk is, dis fascinerend. Jy weet in Engels gebruik hulle die woord illustrious. En dit is wat dit is. En ons moet seker maak dat dit wat ons voorvaders en dit wat ons self, as ek sê ons, ek praat nou van die diensplig of die grensoorlog generasie, dat ons stories ook moet uitkom. So net bietjie agtergrond eerstens oor die tydskrif. Die tydskrif se naam is Militaria Africana. Hy is in Engels beskikbaar, nog nie in Afrikaans nie. Ek hoop op 'n latere stadium dat ons wel 'n Afrikaanse uitgawe gaan uitbring. Maar hy het 'n secondary title van A Record of 500 Years of South African Military History. En dis wat dit is. So jy weet, ons militêre geskiedenis het nie voor die Boereoorlog begin nie. Dit het lank voor dit begin. Jy weet, die eerste militêre voorval waar daar van enige rekords is die Portugese. En die Portugese het hier beklei. En jy weet, hulle het eintlik 'n helse teenslag gehad teen die Hottentotte in die Kaap. En in my volgende uitgawe wat uitgawe 3 is, gaan ek wel daai ding aanspreek. Okay. So ek wil die volledige geskiedenis van Suid-Afrika oordra na mense wat miskien minder bewus is van net hoe roemryk en diep ons militêre geskiedenis is. Okay. Nou ek het nie helse stories om te sê oor my militêre loopbaan nie. Soos almal my ouderdom, is ek opgeroep na skool en as 17-jarige het ek myself gevind in Kroonstad op Genieskool. Okay, en ek het 'n jaar diens gedoen in Kroonstad. Ek het JL's gedoen. Ek het aangestel as 'n tweede luitenant. En op 18 jaar oud het ek myself in Novamboland bevind en ek is vir daai tweede jaar van my diensplig is ek aangestel as die Genie troepbevelvoerder op 5-3 bataljon wat op Ondangwa was. 'n fantastiese jaar gehad, dit was regtig fantasties geweest en dit is eintlik 'n lelike woord om te gebruik, maar dit was 'n jaar van uitstekende avonture en so aan. Maar ek wou eintlik altyd 'n infanterist geword het en in my reservemag of die ou burgermag loopbaan het ek myself bevind as 'n infanterist in 'n MEG infantry bataljon en lang storie kort ek was na 'n lang rukkie het ek die bevelvoerder van daai eenheid geword. Die eenheid se naam was die Witwatersrand Rifles. Okay, toe ek daar klaar maak, is ek uit die bloute gevra en dit was hier om en by 2004, 2005 as ek bereid sou gewees het om 'n stafoffisierpos by Leer hoofkwartier te aanvaar, wat ek wel gedoen het en ek was toe die SSO reservemag MEG infantrie. Daarna het ek 'n paar ander poste gehad en ek het redelik onlangs het ek is ek effektief uit die weermag uit as die SSO eerstens force preparation, magsvoorbereiding, maar ek was toe in 'n ander pos gewees wat eintlik minder militêr was, maar ek het nou so 5 of 6 maande het ek die pos neergelê en ek is nou besig met my aftreewerkie as die redakteur van Militaria Afrikaner.
Ek moet nou vir julle vra hier, want ons sal natuurlik nou 'n paar ouens wees wat sterk voel hier hoor. Hoekom is die tydskrif in Engels en nie net in Afrikaans van die begin af nie? Jy sê hy gaan hom later hoop ons as ons genoeg ouens kry wat ons ondersteun. Dan kan hy oorgaan na Afrikaans ook en tweetalig wees, maar wat was die besluit?
Ongelukkig bloot kommersieel. Okay. Ek moes 'n roep maak en wat eintlik vir my baie belangrik is en ek moes miskien voorheen daarna verwys het. Ek wil graag hê dat die buiteland ook bewus word van die rol wat Suid-Afrika gespeel het. En ek moes 'n roep maak, ek het gesê vir nou gaan ek hom in Engels uitbring. Hoopelik, soos wat die ding versterk en jy weet hierdie ek wil nie sê dis nou 'n gedobbelry nie, maar dit is 'n baie duur storie. Op die oomblik is hy nie winsgewend nie en jy weet ek kan hom miskien vir 'n rukkie dra. Okay, maar sodra hy redelik winsgewend is en ek gaan die mark ook toets en dan sal ek sien kan ons Afrikaanse weergawe uitbring. Maar ek het begin van die staanspoor uit om te sê ons moet ons storie in die buiteland vertel. En dit is vir my eintlik hartseer dat mense nie besef wat se rol het Suid-Afrika gespeel oor die afgelope paar 100 jaar. En ons was eintlik 'n baie belangrike wiel gewees in die breër westerse militêre storie gewees. Jy weet in die Eerste Wêreldoorlog, die Tweede Wêreldoorlog, Korea, baie ander plekke het Suid-Afrika 'n kritiese rol gespeel en dit is ongelukkig for whatever reason is dit nou vergete. En ons moet daai ding weer opwek in Brittanje, die VSA, Europa, die hele ek meen dwars deur die wêreld waar Suid-Afrikaners 'n kritieke rol gespeel in verskeie oorloë. En dit was nogal uit 'n westerse oogpunt uit gewees, maar ons het wel ons het gebloei, ons mense het gebloei, die land as geheel het groot opofferings gemaak om die regte ding te doen soos wat hulle dit op daai stadium gesien het.
Ja, ek moes dieselfde besluit neem hierso by Legacy en jy weet vir my dit ook gegaan dat ek is nie so seker ons klein kinders gaan of kan praat Afrikaans nie. Want die ouens sit oor see en hulle stel belang wat pa gedoen het en wat oupa gedoen het en ma en so. Maar hulle Afrikaans is beroerd. So dis beter om dit in Engels ook te hê want die meeste Afrikaners kan daarom Engels verstaan. Dit wil sê ons is opgevoede mense. Dus ons generaal Borman van Spesmag het gesê ons is nie hier jy mense nie. Weet jy, is heeltemal reg. Wat ek gesien het hier op Legacy van die Stellenbosch ouens is nie hier jy mense nie. En ek is seker dat dit ook by jou opgekom dat ons moet iets nalat vir die toekoms en daarvoor is Engels as 'n wêreldtaal miskien 'n beter voertuig.
Ja, Maar hopelik oor 'n jaar of 2 is ek in 'n situasie waar daar ook Afrikaanse weergawe van Militaria Afrikaan beskikbaar is. So dit is op die horison.
Dis goed, dis goeie nuus. Ons gaan nou volgende week praat met 'n kommandeur van die vloot, Adeel Karelse, wat 'n kleerlingman is. En hy was as 'n onderoffisier was hy op die SAS president Kreer, die een wat gesink het. Maar hy was daar. En ek bel die man en ek sê vir hom, kommandeur, ek graag met u praat. Hy sê, hoor ek Koos, ek wil net vir jou sê, as jy met my praat jy met skurke. Ek het myself, is nou nie iets wat 'n vlootkommandeur gewoonlik vir ou sê nie. Ek sê, hoeso? Hy sê, nee, weet jy, ek kom uit 'n militêre familie. En hy vertel my, en het gaan nou uitkom in die video, is baie opgewonde daaroor. Hy sê vir my, sy pa was in die Tweede Wêreldoorlog, sy oupa was in die Eerste Wêreldoorlog, en as jy verder teruggaan, was hulle al die pad tot daar waar hulle saam met die Hollanders baklei het, as daai regimente. So Suid-Afrika het 'n geweldige groot militêre geskiedenis waarvan die ouens nie weet nie. En ek dink dis wat hierdie tydskrif so belangrik maak.
En Koos, net om by te val, dit gaan nie net oor die whiteys nie, of die blankes nie, en ek weet soos waarvan jy nou praat. Die realiteit is, as jy na al die bevolkingsgroepe kyk, jy weet, in my eerste uitgawe, wat het ek vir Shaka op die voorblad geplaas. Want ek moes besluit, wie is eintlik die mees prominente militêre rolspeler in hierdie land? En weet jy wat? Op die ou end van die dag het ek besluit, dis Shaka. Nou dit is 'n persoonlike mening, maar as jy kyk wat Shaka reg gekry het, in terme nie net van nommer 1 op tegnologiese grond. Jy weet, hy het militêr tegnologies, was daai ou ver voor gewees. In terme van sy taktiek, absoluut ver voor, jy weet, baie mense het verwys na Shaka as die Napoleon van Afrika, en ek dink dit is 'n toepaslike ding om te sê. Maar om verder uit te gaan, dis nie net die Zulus, jy weet, as jy nou van die ander swart stamme kyk, het hulle verstommende suksesse gehad, teen die Britte, selfs teen die boere. Jy weet, almal sê die whiteys het ingekom met hulle wapens en dit was die ou end van die storie gewees. Dis onwaar. As jy eintlik op wat sal mense noem, op 'n neutrale manier kyk na die geskiedenis van die gevegte tussen blankes, Brit of boer teen die swart stamme, dan is daar 'n baie meer nuanced picture as wat mense aanvaar. Die feit bly staan, daar was gebiede waar swart stamme eintlik nooit deur enige whiteys verower was. So self dit is 'n ongelooflike interessante aspek. Jy weet, mense soos Sekhukhune, mense soos Makoma en so aan, daai stories moet vertel word, en dis wat ek wil doen. En as ek kan noem, ek gaan maar 'n bietjie in Engels ook praat, Koos, as dit reg is. My intention is actually to tell the history of the entirety of South African military history. And if I had to break it down very broadly, there is the white history, which consists of Boer and Brit. There's the black history, which consists of numerous different tribes, all of which have got very fascinating stories behind them. And this was never a one-way thing that the whites came and defeated the blacks. That is a myth. And I don't know how that's actually taken hold, because there are black tribes that have distinguished records in defending themselves against what they saw as colonialist interference in their countries. And of course, as did the Boers. But if you look at the colored population, the coloreds, what we call coloreds, and that's actually, it's a term that we shouldn't use, but for convenience, if we had to use that, the coloreds have a distinguished combat record in this country, either fighting against the colonialists or with the colonialists. And all of all of this needs to come out, okay? But then critically, we have to look at the border and the Angolan wars. And in many ways, one can argue that that is actually almost the culmination of hundreds of years of military experience and expertise that came there. Unfortunately, in opposition to what many foreign sources say, and even certain internal South African sources say, those wars were not determined by what happened on the battlefield. It's what happened in the political boardrooms in foreign countries that decided on what happened in South Africa. And without wanting to be controversial or political or anything like that, we live with those consequences to this day. And although we can't undo them, I think it's critically important to tell people how we got to where we are. The South African Defence Force, with whatever faults it might have had, was not a defeated force. It was a force in some ways like the Rhodesian one, but although very different as well. But it was dictated by what happened on the political arena, not on the battlefield. So, Chris, if I had to sum up what my publication is about, my publication is to give people an insight into 500 years of military history. It is not color, race, language specific. All right. It covers all the eras of South African history, the Portuguese Age of Discovery, the VOC, and even before the VOC, there was stuff going on here that people are largely unaware of. We cover with the British colonial periods, the Union Defence Force, going into the SADF and then the SANDF. So I think it's a kaleidoscope which projects a tapestry of what constitutes our military history.
And may I say, I think that you actually succeeded in that. And for me, what is fascinating also is the unknown history. So when you were speaking about, the Zulus, immediately I start thinking to myself, and Chaka, and you mentioned Napoleon. Well, it is so that they actually killed Napoleon. So in case you people don't know about it. He was fighting with the British army, and they surrendered him. He fought his Boscoet Eldrona, the Zulu Impi, and he made a mistake of his life. I think he was assassinated for about 27 times. And many people don't know this. This morning, I was listening to a Colonel McGregor, formerly of the US Army, armor officer, fantastic person. If you can ever listen to a guy, please do so. Yeah, he became famous in the Gulf War for a tank battle. And he's got a PhD as well, so he's a clever guy out on the talk shows. And he said that the Boers, meaning the Afrikaner, were giving the British Empire hell during the war. But he didn't go into it. He couldn't really, probably didn't know the finer details. And I sat there listening, I said, wow, so you know what, I can tell you about Amayuba as well, which is of course before, and I can tell you as Biumpop and all those things, and we can carry on. That is why this is so important. And if I look at your magazine, which you gave me, I just want to run through it, guys. I just want to show you what this thing is about. And let me also say, man, at our age, when we want to read something, we need glasses, right? Right? No? Nie lag nie, dit is so. Jy het jou bril nodig om te lees, of 'n groot glas. But this thing I can actually read without my glasses, because the font is quite big. And that I love, and I have to congratulate you. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but really, we are not the youngest people anymore, and it is so nice for me to open something without having to get my special reading glasses on to see what on earth is going on. But just let's look at this one I have here with me. Just want to run through it. First thing we talk about is World War I warship hunter, Philippus Jungleman Pretorius. Roger Moore, Shot at the Devil. Movie was made about this. Not a good movie, not totally, but yeah, you have a true story. That's one side. Yeah, they sank that ship. It was a 6-inch gun cruiser, I think, but you can read the story. Then comes the next thing, treason and firing squads. Boers executed by Boers. Hallo, ek het nie eers geweet daar is klomp boere is tereggestel deur ander boere nie. Dit het ek nie geleer in my geskiedenis nie, en hoor my lied, ek was baie goed op geskiedenis. Ek het elke prys gewen wat jy kon wen in geskiedenis op skool. Ek was die beste wat hulle ooit gesien het. Ja, sonder grappe, ek was regtig goed geweest. En ek het nie eers hierdie goed geweet nie. Ek het geweet daar was met Sambokke die ouens bygekom, hulle het een of ander reëls gehad wat baie te doen gehad met die Bybel, met 'n Sambok ook. Maar soos die Amerikaanse siviele oorlog, selfde reëls gehad, 39 houe, nie meer as dit nie. Maar hulle sit 3 Sambokke in die ding soos 'n kat. So, ek verstaan nie mooi hoe die ouens gedink het nie, maar anyway, ek het nie geweet daarvan nie. Kom ons gaan verder. Generaal Koos de la Rey, the Lion of the Western Transvaal. Wat weet julle ouens van hom? Ons almal ken die storie min of meer, jy weet dat ek dink hy was daar in die polisiepadblokkade, dis een van die goed, dis tragies, dis daar dood, maar julle weet nie werklik wat het agter daai storie gebeur het. En baie min van julle sal weet dat die polisieman wat die skoot geskiet het, het na die tyd selfmoord gepleeg. Dis so skuldig en sleg hy gevoel het oor die storie. Maar nou gaan ek verder hierso, kom ons kyk, wat's nog in hierdie tydskrif? Ja, hier hulle sê U-boat operations in South African waters. Nou daarvan weet ek nogal baie, want ek het 'n boek geskryf waar ons hierdie goed bespreek. En daar's 'n klomp dinge wat uitkom hierso wat baie interessant is, mense. Regtig waar, jy moet onthou waar Suid-Afrika is. Kaap van die Goeie Hoop, beheer die seeroete. En dit is hoekom Suid-Afrika belangrik is op 'n strategiese veld. Dan praat ons van die Springboks of the Battle of Britain. Die meeste van julle sal stelliglik weet van Suiler Malan. Maar daar was 'n klomp ander. Daar was seker omtrent 'n dosyn, 2-3 dosyn ander Suid-Afrikaners wat gevlieg het daarso. En hulle het almal goed gedoen. Dan praat ons van iets wat ons reeds op Legacy bespreek het in groot detail met kolonel Frans Fourie, die Honoris Kroekshouwer, Operation Kerslig, berekkery van Luanda Hawe in Gola. Weet julle, net gister het ek 'n video uitgebring, maar ons praat van die war crimes wat aangaan in die Luanda oorlogsmuseum, waar hulle 'n boortegnikus van die SAF, ek gaan nie sy naam noem nie, ons weet wie hy is, al 'n foto van hom daar, waar hy oorlede is. Wat gebeur het is, hulle was afgeskiet, hy was iets fout met sy voete, hy kon nie hardloop nie, die vlieënier het hy gesê, moet hardloop, so hy het gehardloop, op die escape and evasion, en hierdie ou het agtergebly en hom basies dekking gegee dat hy kon wegkom en hy is dood in die proses. Nou die Geneefse konvensie, die 3de een, sê baie duidelik, jy kan nie foto's van dooie soldate gaan uitstal nie. Daar is nie 'n probleem om 'n foto van die ou te neem nie, jy moet dit soms doen om vir identiteitsredes, soos die Rooi Kruis sal jy ondersteun, daar is, onthou my agtergrond, as 'n menseregte prokureur. Net gister het ons uitgevind dat buiten dit het hulle nou nog ook iemand se voete daar gehad, van Kerslig af. Een van die spesmagte operateurs is in stukke geblaas toe die bomme afgegaan het te vroeg, en ons praat in groot detail hoekom dit gebeur het. SV Fourie, my vriend, praat ook al oor as die springstof kenner, wat gebeur het daai dag. En hulle het nou werklik waar die ou se voete ook al, jy weet, van die liggaamsdele begin afneem en daar uitgestal. Dit het daarom nou verdwyn. Punt wat ek probeer maak is, hierdie goed het aanklank by julle. As julle hou van Legacy se goed waarvan ons praat hierso en bespreek, gaan julle vrek oor hierdie tydskrif. En julle kan nie, my gas vra, hy betaal my nie om hierdie goed te sê nie, dit is my eie opmerkings. En dan sal ook 'n hele artikel oor 32 bataljon. Ja mense, hier is dit. Ek nou net vir julle gesê wat staan in tydskrif. Dit is ongelooflik, ek moet u gelukwens. Ek weet nie hoe jy al sulke goed by mekaar kon kry nie, dit moet geweldig baie werk wees.
Koos, dit is, maar dit is eintlik baie lekker. If you don't mind me just saying one thing, Chris, in every edition, what I also carry, I will always focus on one piece of South African military hardware. Okay, so in volume 1, I carry a story on the Buffalo, and I actually think that the Buffalo is arguably the most iconic vehicle of the border war. Now, I know as an ex-policeman, you would argue that it was the Casper, but the Buffalo was an icon. You know, everybody knew the Buffalo, everybody used it, and of course, above all, the Buffalo saved many, many lives. And another reason for featuring that is that the Buffalo played a critical role in the development of mine-proof vehicles worldwide. And if you project the knowledge which was South African research and development, okay, which extended into the more recent Afghanistan and Iraq wars and so on, there are literally thousands of people right throughout the world that owe their lives to the engineering, the research, and the manufacturing which was developed in this country. And that's another thing we should be very, very proud of. But to move on, I actually do a story on the Ratel as well. And the Ratel features in volume 2, which is the one that you held up. And in the next edition, I'm actually going to focus on what I think was the most manufactured South African military vehicle of all time, and that's the Marmon Harrington armored car, which was a World War II vehicle, which was absolutely iconic. And for what it's worth, the Marmon Harrington developed a reputation as an absolute start marker in the Western Desert. And that's another thing we should be proud of.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. South Africans became very, very famous on the Montgomery and even before for the armored corps and for the armored cars and doing reconnaissance duties, which opened the main way for the tanks and the battles to follow. It's fantastic. You know, I often say there's a real lack of knowledge out there. We had a fellow, I won't mention names here on Legacy, talking with X5 Recce, X3 1 Battalion, the Bushmans. His father was an Air Force officer who actually brought the Impala into the country. That fighter bomber, whatever you want to call it. And he said he lives in America now, and he says in the program he was doing an MBA or something. And one of the guys got up and they started talking about their massive MRAP vehicles. So fantastic technology. And he said, hello, Fort Walker. South African technology, that. I just want to tell you. And they didn't know that. And you know, guys, once again, there's a duty upon us while we are alive and while we have still knowledge and while our brains are still working to inform these people. So this is a fantastic, fantastic way of doing it, because you can really keep this book in your library. It's not going to get old. You know, it's a really classy piece of work. I keep on saying it because sometimes you get a book and it looks cheap. You know, you can see the guy has taken the cheapest way for whatever reason. And that just doesn't feel so good, you know, when you look at the Glans magazines, it's like, Glans tydskrif. Maar kan ek vra, where would this thing be available? How do we get hold of this? If somebody here wants to order it in advance or they want to get hold of it, what do they do?
Okay, Chris, I'm very grateful because currently it is available at most, not all, but at most exclusive books outlets countrywide. Okay, so if somebody's in a hurry to get it, go to exclusive books. If they don't have it in stock, maybe just speak with the manager that they order a copy. There are other shops where it is available. So I'll name two for now. One is there's about 4 or 5 outlets called Books and Things, which are actually also at the airports. They are stocked over there. And there's a company that that I've started using now, which is called the Quartermaster in Johannesburg, which is out in Melville. If none of those outlets are convenient for you, please send me an email, and maybe if you could actually just display that. But the email is editor@militariaafricana.com. And I promise you, if you send me an email, I will get back to you within a question of a couple of hours, or at the worst case scenario, the following day. And I will make it possible for you to access. It is not a cheap magazine, I must be honest with you. The magazine retails at 299 Rand, inclusive of VAT. Okay, but when you bear in mind that each version is a minimum of 120 pages, it is an expensive publication to produce. And then if anybody is overseas, please contact me and we can negotiate as to how we can actually get a copy to you. And then just lastly from my side, if anybody wants to subscribe for a 1 year period, which is 4 copies, because it comes out every 3 months, we can do that as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Look, guys, I will leave a contact details here, but there's 2 things more we need to discuss. I understand that the next copy is going to come out somewhere in April. Is that correct?
Correct. Middle of April. Yeah. Middle of April. I think the launch date is the 14th of April, and that will be at Exclusive Books, etc., etc. The outlets I referred to a minute or 2 ago.
Yeah, and I will tell you people, we will inform you here, so subscribe. We go definitely, I've asked Edward to come back and explain to us a week or 2 before the actual launch of that magazine there, or that copy, just to come back and quickly explain to us what's happening inside it without giving too much away, of course. And then the last thing I want to speak to you about is you do plan to get yourself a YouTube channel as well, and I wish you luck with that. I wish more people will do that.
Yeah, look. At the moment, it's still a concept which I've got to expand upon. But obviously, what I will do on the channel is to say what are we going to do in the next edition, and maybe just give people a bit of a peek into some of the features that are included as well. But obviously, I would like to expand it because I'd like that to become a bit of a military history discussion channel in which we actually have knowledgeable people come in and share their many, many years of insight into the military history of this country.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I wish you the best with this. Yeah. I just want to say, guys, that the other cat, the black cat, was in one hell of a fight this morning with a stray cat here, and when you had to bath him, and then I got this cut here on my... So if you guys have seen this, please, I'm not being attacked by my wife or anything. I know since I lost the weight, there are some people who think I'm dying. Well, I might, but not right now. And not because of this little scar on my arm. It's not a big deal. But thank you for coming. I really appreciate it, guys. I really recommend this. It was an eye-opener for me because some of the subjects I knew well. Like, obviously, I knew a lot about the U-boat operations. About the Werfs papers. We need to speak about that in the future. I knew about Kerslove, of course. I mentioned Kerslove in my books as well. And I spoke to the people who actually were there. And so I'm in a position where I can tell you this is either nonsense or it's not. And this is not nonsense. This is well researched. This is actually where you go to if you want to argue with people. So thank you for that. It's really, really insightful. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'm delighted you did, Chris. And maybe just from my side, unless you have any questions, but what I want to do is I want to present history or our military history in an accessible and easy readable format. I'm not. Thank you for your recommendation, but I'm not. This is not an academic journal, and I must be honest with you. So I don't have footnotes. Okay, I don't list all my sources and so on. I want people to be able to sit down and read the story of our military history, and it has no. I use this word almost uncomfortably, but there's no academic pretensions about what I want to do here.
No, but that's a good thing because, it's always used, for example, that the African way of teaching is exactly what we're doing now. Your people will remember the Induna sitting next to a tree and he's telling a story, and you damn well will remember. If I ask you here today, man, tell me a story about your dad. Tell me when your dad told you something. Perhaps you were out, wanting the Springbokke or something you were doing, Kudus or whatever, you'll be able to tell me. I guarantee you, if your dad has given you a PowerPoint presentation with slides and whatever, it just does not have the same effect. And most academic presentations are so damn boring. I can take it back. I spent 6 years at university. I cannot really tell you in great detail what the professors were presenting. I have a general idea, of course, but I can damn well tell you what jokes we were telling there while we were waiting outside, waiting for class to begin. So this is the perfect method of doing it. It doesn't pretend to be a academic paper, but still the contents are 100% academic. In fact, to be honest with you people, I find one of these articles where you have like little footnotes every 5 seconds and a little 1, 2, 3 wat daarna hardloop. It doesn't read easily. You have to stop and go and look. If a guy explains himself properly in the article, that's my opinion, guys, then you don't need footnotes. It's that simple. But thank you once again. Is there anything else you have on to say before I say goodbye to everyone?
I think I've said enough. Thank you, Chris.
Wel, ons wens julle alle voorspoed toe en ek sien uit na ons volgende gesprekke. Manne, kom praat met
Dankie,
ons, ondersteun hierdie tydskrif, andersins gaan hy verdwyn. Jy weet, jy kan nie verwag ouens moet betaal uit hulle sak heeltyd nie. Julle ouens moet bydra sover jy kan natuurlik. Dis die moeite werd. Goeie geskenk. Net vir julle dit sê, baie goeie geskenk vir iemand. En tot ons weer ontmoet, laat die Here julle seën. Right. En right, as jy reg is, net doodstil sit daar, dan sal ek links kyk. Ek 'n sluk water vat. Ja, is warm buite, so 243. Ek sê 41, maar is warmer as dit. Dis 100% humidity tyd. Dis nie kry. Maar dis koel hier in die studio, ons is alright, ons is lekker. Tiger. Nou, wat vir die kat kos jou oomlik. Kom.
Geen probleem.
Tiger.